"We're a new family," he forced my daughter to draw. Dark art began to surface. Police arrived at her art show. They knew her paintings held a secret. Scottsdale mornings always start with the arid desert breeze. I'm up at 6 a.m., even before my alarm clock has a chance to beep. I can faintly make out the sound of my daughter Abigail's pencil on paper, sketching something coming from her room next door. We've both gotten used to waking up early. My daughter and I head into the kitchen to begin my usual morning routine, the one I do every day while I make some toast. My name is Linda Parker. I'm 36, and I'm in my 7th year working as a pharmacy technician at Walgreens. The initial plan was for this job to be temporary, until my husband Michael could launch his insurance business. There was a time, when we first got married, when I imagined becoming a full-time homemaker down the line. However, now this job has grown into a critical support system for both Abigail and me. I find this job, from managing inventory to verifying prescriptions, to be a good fit for my detail-oriented nature. Even though it's a set schedule, working 5 days a week from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. is not easy when you are a single parent raising a 10-year-old daughter. I'm up at 5:30 a.m. to put together our lunches, and on days with overtime, I have to call the after-school program for a bit more time. However, I believe my organized nature helps make this all work. On the weekends, I make sure I spend time with Abigail, whether it's visiting art museums, which she enjoys, or drawing with her. Those simple moments make us happy. Abigail attends Chaparral Elementary School and is in the 4th grade. Her thoughtful look and large, dark eyes, those are absolutely her father's traits. But the way she applies her brush to the canvas, along with her intense, focused stare, actually bring to mind my own mannerisms. There's an air of enigma surrounding her creations. Regardless of whether she's sketching scenery or people, her work transcends simple representation. You can clearly perceive her distinct style. The art teacher is especially fond of her as a student. Before my divorce, Abigail was certainly more social and out there. The sound of her giggling as she played with her friends used to fill our entire home. She still gets together with friends, but she has become a bit more withdrawn. But art class is a different story. When she is drawing, she truly comes to life, and her face lights up as if transformed. Witnessing her in that state causes a pang of sadness within me. I first encountered my former husband Michael during our time at Arizona State University. He had a magnetic personality in the business program, and I was a down-to-earth pharmacy student. Our contrasting natures meshed perfectly, drawing out the better aspects of each of us. His grand ambitions combined with my grounded planning, I genuinely believed it was a match made in heaven. We got married right after we finished school, and Michael launched his insurance agency. It began as a small operation, but thanks to his sales abilities and networking skills, the company expanded consistently. Our newlywed existence was picture perfect, and when Abigail arrived, I felt like my life couldn't be any more complete. When we were kids, the 3 of us would go on outings and chat about our hopes and aspirations. Thinking back now, those might have been the best moments. But as he got successful, Michael slowly changed. Now at 39 years old, he's one of the top insurance agency owners around. On the outside, he's a classy guy. Everyone sees him as a success. But underneath, he's seriously consumed with how things look and his social standing. He swapped out fancy cars constantly, joined exclusive golf clubs, and became fixated on being around the wealthy. He started caring more about his position in society than spending time with us. 3 years back, when I found out about his affair, I made the choice to get a divorce. The court battle over our kids was intense, but I came out on top. I was awarded $1,500 each month for child support, along with the right to see our children every other weekend. While it might have seemed fine from the outside, it was. Michael questioned how I raised our kids and tried to use his money to get what he wanted in court. The judge, though, focused on what was best for our children's emotional well-being and agreed with me. 6 months ago, Michael started seeing his new fiancée. Catherine Hamilton is her name, and she's the daughter of a big shot at a major real estate company nearby. She's 35, making her younger than I am, and supposedly cares a lot about family. It seems like she's drawn to the image Michael projects as a father. She looks like she wants everything to be perfect as a stepmother. Lately, she's mentioned her new family quite a bit, even when Abigail is around. Michael doesn't appear to have any feelings left for me, his former spouse. He appears to be motivated solely by the desire to gain wealth and status. I've learned that they're considering living in a fancy neighborhood. It's clear he wants to involve Abigail in this new setup. It's possible that presenting this image of a perfect family is a tactic to get better business prospects. Our lives right now are pretty predictable. Abigail goes to after-school care during the week and visits her dad every other weekend. Even though we're not rich, we're secure. My job at Walgreens gives us the stability we need. My coworkers are really understanding and often switch shifts for school events. As the sun climbs, the familiar sight of Camelback Mountain outside our window becomes a bright red. Living in the desert can occasionally seem difficult. Nevertheless, there is beauty to be found here. A fresh day is about to start. No matter what the day brings, I'll keep going for Abigail. That's my main focus right now. The desert sunrise was making our apartment extra bright this morning. The clock says it's 7 a.m. I'd usually be getting ready to go to Walgreens by now, but today is different. I took a day off, which doesn't happen often, to see Abigail's art show at school. I felt a little bad about not working during the morning rush at the pharmacy, but my coworker Jane generously offered to take my shift. I'm making a slightly fancier breakfast than usual in the kitchen. My daughter Abigail adores blueberry pancakes. As I carefully place a tiny whipped cream flour on top, I imagine the look on her face as she sees it. "Hey, Mom," Abigail exclaimed, her face unusually animated as she sat in front of her pancakes. "I'm so thrilled about today's exhibition." I grinned as I smoothed her long, brown hair. Even though she usually handles her hair by herself, this morning is an exception. I create a small braid in her back hair, shaping it into a plate and securing it with a white ribbon. I prepped the navy dress last night. The lip gloss, which I seldom wear, glistens in the morning sun. Abigail said proudly, "My painting will be shown." Her voice conveys a level of excitement I don't usually hear from her. "Mr. Brown said he'd put it in a special place," she added. "The most prominent spot in the hallway." I stopped for a moment, considering those words. I understood Abigail had artistic gifts, but lately, it seems her teachers are giving her exceptionally high praise. It brings up conflicting emotions within me to see my child dedicating herself to art more and more following the divorce. Maybe she's trying to cope with something through her artwork. I finish getting ready and put on my favorite pearl earrings. Looking in the mirror, I feel a little more assured. I want to present myself well as a mother on this significant day for my daughter. When we got to Chaparral Elementary School around 9 o'clock in the morning, a lot of other parents were already there. The parking lot was much fuller than it usually is, and a celebratory mood was evident. The corridor that led to the gym was adorned with bright, eye-catching art pieces. Different styles were used: watercolors, crayons, and paper cutouts that brought to life the creative realms of kids, causing me to stop and look. The school's garden of cacti was bathed in the early morning light, creating shadows. Just as those plants managed to flourish in Arizona's demanding environment, the children must be growing strong as well, I thought. The principal began the opening ceremony, and the principal's friendly greeting filled the gym. My friend, Jennifer Morrison, who I see all the time, excitedly pointed out her son's piece. "Hey, Linda, show me Abigail's painting, too," Jennifer said. "That girl is really gifted, isn't she?" The teacher made sure to mention it during the last parent-teacher meeting as well. Truly, Abigail's art has a distinct appeal, I agreed. It's not only about the technical skill, but also a force that touches the viewer's emotions. Yes, just like that young person's individual expression. Parents started to wander through the exhibit in small groups as the air was calm. The sun shone through the tall windows of the gym, making stripes of light on the floor. I could hear kids' voices, full of energy, coming from somewhere far away. At last, I found Abigail's painting. It was shown off in the art room's special space, and occupied a bit more room than the other artworks. At first, it looked like a landscape, but after closer inspection, it seemed to be a family portrait. As I went to get my phone out to take a photo, a feeling of unease washed over me. I find the arrangement of people in the painting a little off. Even though it's meant to represent a family, a shadow hangs over the piece, or am I just overthinking it? The colors are a departure from Abigail's typical vibrant style. The darkness feels profound, and there's a heaviness in the figures' faces. That feeling of slight discomfort eventually evolved into a clear conviction. I observed Mr. Brown, the art instructor, constantly pausing to look at Abigail's piece. The normally composed teacher had a focused look as he jotted things down. He was writing in his notebook, tilting his head every so often. After that, he had a private chat with Ms. Watson, our homeroom teacher, in a secluded area of the hallway. It seemed their eyes would occasionally drift in my direction. Were they discussing something negative? Unease started to creep in. The teachers' faces lacked their usual warmth. All the other parents were continuing their cheerful conversations. But to me, even their voices were becoming muffled. Something in Abigail's painting had really got to me and wouldn't release its grip. The gymnasium was bustling with the parents' lively chatter as the art show reached its climax. Abigail was happily moving through the exhibits, enjoying herself with her friends. I was just starting to relax, seeing her carefree demeanor. "Mrs. Parker, could I speak with you for a moment?" I felt a tap on my shoulder and spun around. Ms. Watson, my daughter's homeroom teacher, was standing there. She wore a look I'd never witnessed before. Her usual sweet smile was absent, and instead she seemed very serious. "Yes," I asked, though I already knew something wasn't right. "Would you come with me to the principal's office?" The stress in her voice immediately made my nerves rise. Even so, I just nodded, attempting to appear calm. I couldn't let my worry show. As a parent, I had to be strong. On the way, my mind raced, wondering what this could be about. Was it something related to Abigail's schoolwork? Or maybe she'd gotten into trouble? Every footfall echoed in the silence, making my heart beat faster. What I was about to face was something completely unforeseen. Upon entering the principal's office, I saw a police officer, dressed in uniform, waiting there with a grave expression on his face. Sunlight streamed through the window, highlighting the officer's badge. On the desk was a file, and it seemed to contain Abigail's artwork. "Please take a look at this." Opening the file the officer handed me, I discovered numerous paintings done by Abigail. A peculiar woman with her father, along with a little girl, were sketched in the corner. A sequence of drawings, all in dark hues and with the words, "We're going to be a new family." At that instant, I felt a sense of dread wash over me. My legs felt unsteady, and my vision started to blur. The dark shades in the art seemed to hit me like a physical blow. My hand was shaking as I tried to sit down. Abigail's desperate call for assistance was clearly present. In the weighty silence, the officer began turning the pages of the file slowly. I saw Abigail's artwork from the last few months arranged in order of when she created them. "Let me clarify this more thoroughly." Mr. Brown began to speak. His tone wasn't as kind as usual. We began to spot the changes about 3 months back. The teacher held up one painting. It was a vivid family portrait. It was typical of Abigail's gentle style, showing a holiday scene with her dad. Up until that point, her art had been full of happiness. As he turned to the next piece, the palette started to shift. The bright colors disappeared, replaced by shades of gray and deep blue. The arrangement of the people also changed. At first, all the family members were the same size, but slowly the figure representing Abigail got smaller and was moved to the margins of the page. "These pieces are from October." Ms. Watson opened another folder. It contained records from the health room and notes from the school counselor. Abigail started going to the health room more often. She often mentioned having headaches and stomach aches, especially right before and after she saw her father. The police officer coughed softly and showed us some new papers. "This is a written record of a talk that was recorded last Friday." The transcript outlined a conversation between Abigail and her father. "Here, try making this picture brighter. Show the happy life with your new mom and new house." "But Dad," "Abby, do what I tell you. You are a big girl now, yes. You'll go along with your new family, won't you?" Every single word felt like a stab to my soul. Michael's tone was icy, unlike anything I'd experienced before. The officer, Mrs. Parker, was very deliberate in her speech. "They told me this kind of emotional manipulation is actually considered a form of harming a child. Particularly in these custody situations, it can really damage a child's well-being." The school counselor also spoke up, giving me a detailed rundown of Abigail's actions. How even when she was usually happily involved in art class, her face became very withdrawn after seeing her dad. She was talking less to her friends and isolating herself more during recess. What was even more disturbing was finding out Michael's real reasons for doing all of this. Catherine, his fiancée, had a father who was a very powerful real estate developer. He was trying to build this flawless family picture to win them over. "We also have info that your ex-husband is planning to try to change the custody agreement," the officer went on. "It seems like he wants to get out of paying child support and gain social status for his new business ventures." My hands were shaking as I gazed at the last painting. It showed her father and an unfamiliar woman standing in front of a big house, and Abigail was drawn very small, almost like a shadow. Faintly scrawled below the drawing were the words, "We're going to be a new family." Underneath that was written, "Mom, I'm sorry." In that instant, all the emotions I'd been holding back just erupted. Why hadn't I understood that my daughter was reaching out for help? I've often wondered why she looked so downcast after she came back from her weekends with him. I wondered why she didn't just tell me what was up. The principal responded in a quiet voice, "We had to keep everything safe and follow the right rules." The priority, especially in a child safety situation, was getting an expert's assessment and getting the police involved. Mr. Brown put his hand on my shoulder. Abigail was reaching out for help through her artwork. Her cries couldn't be ignored. Outside, the art show was still going on. I could faintly hear the happy sounds of kids. I was pretty sure I heard Abigail talking with some of her friends somewhere. What do I do now? As I started to say something, the police officer stopped me. "We've already filed a report with Child Protective Services." They were also going to get a temporary hold on visitation rights. "Mrs. Parker, there's a lot more we can do to keep you and Abigail safe. Can I talk to Abigail now?" I asked, my voice shaking a little. Ms. Watson agreed and quickly left to go get her. While I waited, I tried to get my head together. I have to keep my composure. I definitely couldn't say anything that would make her feel like she was the one who did something wrong. She came from her classroom. Her cheeks were still rosy, maybe because of the art show. But when she entered the office and saw her pictures on the desk, her face just went blank. "Abby," I said, as gently as I could. "Can you tell me about it?" Abigail gave a little nod and sat down right beside me. I felt her tiny frame shaking a little. "Tell me, can you describe what it's like when you visit your dad in Catherine's place?" Following a brief pause, Abigail gazed at her hands and began talking in a quiet voice. "Dad told me this is your new mom." He also said, "The new house is large and lovely." Abigail took a big breath and went on. I couldn't help it. Tears started streaming down her face. "I don't want to leave my real mom. But Dad always says, good kids always do as they're instructed." I instantly wrapped my arms around Abigail. "Is that the reason you created these drawings?" the officer asked, directing their attention to the artwork on the desk. "Yes, my dad told me to draw pictures of a happy family. However, I didn't want to create something that wasn't true." Abigail continued, crying. "So I drew my true feelings. I felt small. But Dad found out and became very upset. Why didn't you tell your mom?" I inquired while gently touching her hair. "Dad told me that if you tell your mother, you will not see me again." I questioned as I carefully stroked her hair. "Dad said that if you tell Mom, you will not see me anymore." I didn't want to despise my dad, but I was genuinely terrified. At that moment, the feelings she'd held back for so long came pouring out of Abigail's small body. I just held my daughter quietly. The sunshine streaming through the window softly surrounded us, a mother and a daughter. "I'm sorry, Mom," she whispered, "for keeping it a secret." "No, you're not," I reassured her. "You didn't do anything wrong." "I'm sorry I didn't realize what was happening," I said sadly. The principal quietly handed over a box of tissues. The room was quiet until Abigail stopped crying. "From this moment forward, if anything feels difficult, always confide in Mom, understood?" "Yes." I swear Abigail gave a tiny nod while snuggled in my arms. That same day, we got the okay to leave school early and made our way back to the house. While we were walking, Abigail held my hand really tight, something she hadn't done in a while. She'd look up at me now and then, giving me small smiles. She looked so much more relaxed than she had been, like she was finally free from something that had been weighing her down. Back at the house, Abigail went straight to her room, and she seemed exhausted. After a bit, I tapped on her door with a steaming cup of hot cocoa. "Can I come in?" I asked. "Yes," she said. Abigail was sitting by the window with her sketchbook open in her lap, but all the pages were empty. "I've wanted to draw for so long," she said, staring out the window. "Real pictures, but I was scared." "Do you think you can draw now?" I asked. "I don't know, but I want to try," she replied. That night, we stayed up really late. Little by little, Abigail started telling me about what had happened at Dad's house. "Catherine is nice," she said, "but something feels off." Abigail stopped talking for a moment, as if she was looking for the right words. "It's like they want me to be a doll," she finally said. "What do you mean?" I asked. "She buys me new clothes, takes me places, but when she asks, 'Isn't this lovely?' I feel like I can't tell her what I really think," she explained. The following day, we started the whole process of getting her support. Mr. Johnson from Child Protective Services came over and went over exactly what was going to happen. Abigail was going to need to go to counseling regularly. Additionally, visits with her father would only be allowed with supervision at the visitation center for now. During her very first session with the counselor, Dr. Wilson, Abigail started drawing all by herself without any prompting. "What's this?" Dr. Wilson asked her. Wilson inquired softly, speaking directly to my innermost feelings. Abigail told me the dark part is shrinking while the bright part is slowly getting bigger. Michael got in touch with us via his lawyer. He was intending to pursue full custody, but I'm not scared anymore. I'm ready to fight any fight to keep Abigail safe. "Hey, Mom," Abigail said one evening right before she went to sleep. "I'm fine now." "Why's that?" I asked. "Because I could tell the truth. I don't have to hide it anymore in my drawings. I can say it with words." Those words caused tears to well up in my eyes. My little girl was definitively starting to confront her emotional pain. A week passed, and the initial hearings began at the Maricopa County Courthouse. Abigail's artworks were presented as compelling proof. Psychology professionals provided expert testimony on the importance of kids expressing their feelings through art. Along with the school personnel's detailed reports, it was clear that Michael's behavior represented deliberate emotional abuse. I looked directly at Michael in court for the first time. I could not see the man I once loved in his eyes. All I saw was an unfamiliar person, consumed by a destructive want. Catherine's demeanor took me by surprise. She willingly took the stand as a witness and admitted Michael's wrongdoing. "I should have realized," she stammered as she spoke in court. Wrapped up in this fantasy of a perfect family, I hurt a young girl. While awaiting the temporary ruling, Abigail slowly went back to living life as she had before. At school, she started to smile and chat with her friends once more. The art class that followed school has turned into a really important place for her. Look, Mom, Abigail pointed out a fresh painting she had created. It depicted us holding hands under a blue sky painted with vibrant colors. Things aren't completely fixed yet. A difficult journey is still ahead, but we don't feel so isolated anymore. Now that we can hear Abigail speaking honestly, we have absolutely moved forward. That legal battle with Michael continued for way longer than we anticipated. Right up to the end, he refused to acknowledge what he'd done. I was just doing what was best for my daughter. That's what he said in the courtroom. However, considering all the evidence, his words felt empty. The court's decision came half a year after the art show. The court significantly limited Michael's visitation. He was only permitted to see her once a month and only with a professional present. Eventually, it was Catherine who spoke to me in the hallway after the trial. Could I please apologize to Abigail personally? I talked over this with Abigail. Do you want to meet her? Yes, Abigail replied after giving it some consideration. I don't think Catherine is a truly terrible person. The meeting took place under Dr. Wilson's watchful eye. I'm genuinely sorry, Catherine said with a deep bow. I should have understood how you were feeling sooner. Abigail listened quietly to what Catherine had to say. Afterward, in a quiet tone, she asked, You were also tricked by Dad, weren't you? Those words caused Catherine to get emotional. Her school life also slowly began to change. My daughter Abigail found her art class with Mr. Brown to be even more meaningful. Look what I made, she'd say. The picture she shared displayed self-portraits expressing different emotions. My daughter's instructor explained that the sad version of herself and the angry version, they were all parts of her. One night, Abigail came to visit my job, which wasn't something she often did. Mom, she asked, do you think I'll ever be able to forgive Dad? I wasn't prepared to immediately respond to that. However, I sensed how she was maturing. It may take a while, there's no perfect way to feel. Abigail agreed with me quietly. At that moment, the sun's rays streamed in through the pharmacy's window, softly lighting her face. Nowadays, we regularly go to the park on weekends. Abigail brings her drawing pad while I read and have coffee. She sometimes shows me her current artwork. This blue bird is you, Mom, she'd explain. Really? And why is that? I ask. Because you always stay close to me no matter what happens, she'd reply. A fresh morning is about to begin. The smell of breakfast toast drifted from the kitchen and I could hear Abigail sketching in the adjacent room. The passage of time is certainly noticeable. Obstacles will undoubtedly arise, but we don't feel fear any longer. Just like that bird in her artwork, we can soar with courage and freedom, and that's what I feel deep down.